There is something truly special about homemade cookies. Their comforting aroma filling the kitchen, the joy of baking from scratch, and of course, the first delightful bite. Today, we are making classic vanilla and chocolate swirl cookies, also known as pinwheel cookies. They may look intricate, but don't worry, they are surprisingly easy to make. With just a few simple ingredients and a little patience, you'll have a batch of beautiful buttery cookies that are as delicious as they are stunning. Let's get started. In a large mixing bowl, combine the softened butter and sugar. Using a handheld mixer or a stand mixer with a paddle attachment, beat at medium speed until the mixture becomes light and fluffy. This step is key to achieving the perfect cookie texture. Next, add the eggs one at a time, making sure each is fully incorporated before adding the next. If needed, pause occasionally to scrape down the sides of the bowl with a rubber spatula. Then, mix in the vanilla extract. Now, add the flour and a pinch of salt and mix just until the dough comes together. Avoid overmixing as this can affect the cookie texture. Divide the dough in half. Place one portion onto a sheet of parchment paper, add a tablespoon of flour, knead lightly and shape it into a disc or a rectangle. Now to the remaining dough in the mixer, add the cocoa powder and mix until fully combined. Then, transfer this cocoa dough onto another sheet of parchment paper and form it into a disc or a rectangle, just like the vanilla dough. Both doughs should now be placed in the freezer to chill for about 30 minutes. Once chilled, take both doughs out of the freezer and roll them into rectangles of similar size. If the dough sticks to your rolling pin, you can lightly sprinkle it with flour, but only if necessary. Once the rectangles are formed, return them to the freezer for another 15 minutes to firm up. Take the vanilla dough and carefully flip it over the cocoa dough, still using the parchment paper to help. Gently press down with a rolling pin to help the layers stick together. Trim the edges if needed to make the top layer slightly smaller than the bottom one. Carefully roll the dough into a tight cylinder to create the signature swirl pattern. Wrap the log in parchment paper and place it in the freezer for at least 30 minutes. Meanwhile, preheat your oven and line 2 baking sheets with parchment paper or silicone baking mats. Once the dough is well chilled, remove it from the freezer and slice it into even rounds. Arrange the cookies on the baking sheets, leaving space between them. They will expand slightly as they bake. Bake in the preheated oven for about 10 minutes. The cookies may seem soft at first, but don't worry, they will firm up and become perfectly crisp as they cool. And there you have it, beautiful, delicious vanilla and chocolate swirl cookies. I hope you enjoyed this recipe and that it brings a little joy to your kitchen. Happy baking!